I'm Daniel, this is Cunningham Manor, and today we're going to make some drums in Luna. First off, thank you everybody for subscribing, it means a lot. If this is your first time to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the bell. This is part 2 of the mix series, and today we're going to be hitting the kick and snare. I decided to go ahead and do the Neve summing because I've been hearing such great things about it, apart from its price. I'm going to start with the kick. I'm going to grab these 2 tracks and I'm going to hit Command-Shift-B, which creates a bus, which I love, which I knew that in my last video. But hey, like all of us, this is brand new and we're all learning together. Alright, so I'm going to call it kicks. I'm going to keep a mono and I'm going to do the Neve summing right in there. Yes. Change the color. So let's start with this first kick drum, which this is actually recorded with a D112. Listen to what we got. So one of the first things I'm going to do here is I'm going to do the Oxide tape across these. What I'm trying to do is get the summing and the tape to do some work for me before I start EQing. I want it to add some transient stuff. I want it to maybe do a little top end, a little bottom end. I feel like cranking the saturation, I might get that a little bit. So by the time I get to using a channel strip, a lot of the work has been done already for me by using tape. And hopefully this Neve summing. Alright, so here we go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and copy it to these other channels. I love this new little feature here. Copy once. I'm going to do this to the snare as well, and I'm going to go ahead and do this to the overhead as well for the moment. And that's where we're going to stop today. Cool. And now we're going to look at the inserts. Here's the big thing. On the inserts, one of my favorite plugins to use is the, well, let's see what it is. Align. If I could spell. That would be nice. Here it is. And what I love that you click on inserts and you just start typing. Bam, it pulls up whatever plugin you're thinking of using, which is really cool. The Sound Radix Auto Align. And so this is a killer phase plugin. And I can't do drums without it anymore. I'm going to go ahead and I think I can option drag these across. So I'm going to take these over here, take this over here, take this over there. And what I'm going to do is I'll pull this up on the overhead to start with. So what it does is it compares the tracks to each other and then shifts, not only flips their phase if it needs it, but it also shifts their timing so it realigns the timing either forwards or backwards, which is really amazing. And you can also tweak it afterwards. So once it does this analysis, you can adjust them later as well. But I find it incredibly helpful to just take care of a multi-track phase nightmare, and it kind of just does it for you. And I find it really helpful. How this works is it uses a kind of a master send. So this is saying send here and receive here. So I'm going to say I want the overhead to send out to everything else, because the overhead is a pretty great picture of the whole set. And by the way, this is a mono overhead, and I'll get into that a little bit later. But so here we go. So if I start playing, you can see we got a little bit of stuff coming out here. That's from the overhead track, which is not soloed or anything. So we don't have to do anything at this point, but all we need to do is tell it to send. So it's sending. I'm going to come back over here to that D112, and I'm going to say receive from channel 1. You can see instantly it's looking at what's going on there, and you can see it's inputting over here. So what we want to do with these little sliders is just kind of roll off the kind of noise, and we really want to just capture those transients. So we're going to hit delay and polarity and just hit detect. And now it does it on its own. You can see the it's analyzing the waveforms against each other, and then it's going to find the optimal timing. And we can see what that does right here. All right. So we got a plus 147 on it, which means it's moved it forward in time. So what I'm going to do is now I'm going to send this track. I know it's a little confusing, but I'm going to send this to the other kick so that just those kicks are lining up to each other. And we open this up and we say receive channel 2. Same thing, detect polarity. We'll play this back a little bit, and I just want to roll off this sounds on the bottom here. So I'm going to detect. I can close this one now. And now this one is detecting against the first kick drum. You can see it pushed it back 147 as well. Very interesting. Let's start mixing that first kick drum. I'm going to switch off the solo. I'm just soloing the kick, and so this guy is highlighted right now. So now that align phase work has been done, this is what I love to do. I want to do 88 RS. Pull that up. Sweet. Great. And so this is what I love to do. And again, from here on out, I'm going to watch my levels to try to keep them minus 18. Alright, so right now it's about minus 12. I'm going to lower this, turn up my main volume so I can hear it a little bit better. Great. So I'm going to switch it to mic, and so that gives a lot more output as well. But what I'm doing is adding some aggression here. Alright, let's switch the EQ on. And what we're going to do is I'm going to look at 8. Maybe around here. Nice. Probably look around 50-ish for the low end. All right. All right, so that's pretty good for that first kick. And then once we get the other one going, so I'm going to switch this off, turn this guy on. I'm just going to copy this over, and let's listen to what we have. So, yeah. So this other mic is going to kind of get treated a little bit like a sub, because there's a ton of low end in there. And I'm also just going to get that level way back. Alright, that's good. Alright, let's bring in the other one. Alright. We'll look at this first one again and see what happens. Yeah. Alright, that sounds pretty good to me. A lot of low end. I think, you know, obviously these can be adjusted later in the mix, but that's a pretty good starting point. That sounds pretty good to me. Great, and let's look at the level again. So we're still hitting a little high. Let's go back to the Neve summing. Got a little bit of movement. Let's see what happens when we crank this guy. Great. That That's about -18. Getting a little bit of color there. So I'm going to go ahead and add a summing on the master. Oh, I see. My 2-bus is not going to the drum sub as it should be. There it is. Okay. So if I solo this again, sorry guys. Yeah, it's affecting it now. I see. Yeah, very nice. So that Neve summing is doing something in there. The transient levels, there's like detail that's coming out of it. It's very interesting. It's very interesting. There's almost like clarity's coming out of it, which is pretty cool. Okay, so that's pretty good. That's a good starting place. All right, so on to the snare. That's good for now. I'm gonna grab the snare and the overhead. And so here's what's going on here. I've been thinking about this a lot. My overhead is about 6 feet above the snare. It's a single overhead mono. And I really feel like I use it for the snare drum. Like it's a snare drum mic, giving a really good picture of the snare drum, and everything else happens to be in there as well. So I've been thinking, why don't I just put the snare and the overhead together in a bus? Command-Shift-B, and I'll just call this snare, and I'm going to keep it mono, do the Neve summing, and create. Boop. There we go. And so let's do that. So I'm going to turn on snare. Wow, that sounds pretty good. It's pretty loud. All right, so let's go ahead and let's do the auto align, obviously. So again, we're going to just receive from that overhead. Do the polarity. All right, so it's moved it. 164. Oh, I see. I turned them both on. Yeah, you can hear how much of my snare sound is actually coming from this overhead when they're both on, which is great. I love that. All right, so tape is on. Let's go ahead and do another 88 RS. Pop it on. My level's getting back to normal here. We'll turn the trim back up here. I guess first I'm going to look at its own track, how much is coming out there. Probably a little bit at top. And I definitely want to come in here. And probably, yeah. I'm looking at 150 or so, somewhere around there. Still feels pretty loud, yeah. All right, there we go. Again, trying to keep, especially someone like this, keep that volume low, and you can even do this on headphones. Keep the volume low and listen to it in a quiet state. And you'll find you can make some decisions about what you want out of it. I like that. That's a fat kick. Snare. That's a fat snare. Great. So we got that. Same thing with the overhead. Let's take a look at that, and then we're gonna balance those out. Yeah. So probably don't need a ton in that overhead. Probably naturally like to pull out about 400. Okay, let's bring them together. Let's do both. There we go. All right, let's. All right. All right, that sounds pretty good to me. Great, so that pretty much covers what I want to do here for the kick and snare at this point. You can see through the main, we're still looking at about minus 18 on the total volume of the drum sub. Yeah, again, this Neve summing is adding a little bit of extra something to it in the top end. And it's just giving it a little bit more life, which is pretty cool. That's very interesting. Like it. All right. Well, thanks so much for watching, guys. Part 3 is coming next. It's going to be the rest of the drum set and some more bus stuff around that. Let me know in the comments if you guys have any questions or any other topics you'd like covered about drums before I do the next video. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe and hit that bell. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you guys in the next one.